Hey everyone, it's me, Samwise, your local community herbalist who has been on a long journey across the country, and I'm now in Ohio, and it's cold because it's cold here in the winter, fall. And today's video is about the very storied, full of lore apple, and I'm standing under a apple tree in our yard. Here is this giant apple tree, which I'm really into because it's kind of like, it was described to me as like half dead, which I really like because that kind of reminds me of the goddess Holda. If you've seen some of my other videos, talk a little bit about the goddess Holda, who has like one half of her face is a beautiful maiden and the other half of her face is like a gnarled crone or like a corpse. So definitely an entity that travels between the realms of life and death and rebirth, and such as apple as well. There's so much to say about this plant that I'm like, can I do it all? I can't. So it's just gonna be what it is, and then maybe like multiple videos and explorations, because the apple for like my lineages, for like the Celtic and Germanic lineages, particularly the Germanic lineages, is like the center of the world, center of the universe. In fact, there is like lore and scholarship that says that Yggdrasil, I'm not sure how to say that properly, but that the tree world, right, like the tree that represents the whole universe, is an apple tree. Like there's stories of the Norns or the three fates, these kind of like three femme entities who like weave together the warp and weft of fate of all beings, will gather around the base of the world tree and apply white clay to the trunk of the world tree, like you would do on a fruit tree to protect it from pests or like from it getting sick. So I really like that imagery, and I love the idea of the world and the apple. And in fact, I am excited to interview Heather Enders, who created the plant tarot deck, and she picked for the world card that the apple, but like cut in half so that you can see the star in the apple, if anybody's ever noticed that. If you don't cut it up and down, but you cut it through the middle, like if you were like doing the fruit ninja thing, which is a game on the computer, then you would see a star, a 5-pointed star, which is like a very magical symbol, especially in these lineages that represent the elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. So yeah, there's a lot just like stored in the apple itself. And in fact, I'm just learning that there's so much wildness and like unpredictability and magic in apples, in the seeds in particular. Like if you were to plant an apple seed, you would like have no idea what you were gonna get, because the seeds of apples contain the genetic codes for like the bajillion different kinds of apples, and so you literally don't know what you're gonna get. And if you want consistency in your apple, you have to graft, meaning you have to like take a branch cut a branch from an existing apple tree whose variation or variety and then graft it, like kind of stick it on in a particular skilled way to the trunk of another apple tree, and then you would get the apples that you expect to get. Otherwise, you don't know. It's up to fate. And that tree trunk, that rootstock for apple, can be a crab apple, which I really like that idea, because like crab apples are kind of like the genetic predecessors for the domestic apples that we see in like the store and stuff. And I feel like crab apples get a really bad rap. If you go and check out the Black Forager on Instagram, she has a really awesome little snippet about crab apples, being like, are they poisonous? No, they are not. Like, people have been eating them and making medicine and making alcohol, like apple cider, for time immemorial. In fact, there's actually 2 crab apple trees in the front of the yard of the house I just moved into. Here's the house we just moved into. Ba-bam. And yeah, I just love that these like really old creatures are like so hardy and the predecessor for all this other like expression. And I love too that like crab, the idea of crab kind of has this connotation of like sourness or like unpleasantness. And like in some historical records, I was doing all this research about apples and like listening to this Fair Folk interview with oh my gosh, it's always escaping my name or my memory right when I need it, Danica Boyce, and then interviews a scholar whose name I definitely don't remember about apples, and they talk about the etymology of crab, like when did this word crab come to mean like sour or unpleasant. And in their discussion they talk about the first record of that word being used for like a woman. So I love this association with like the old crabby woman, which like you just don't want to fuck with an old crabby woman. Like she's fierce, just like, you know, these deities that have that like that elder fierceness or that worldliness or like time worn wisdom in them. So yeah. But yeah, apples in general are associated with sex. It's sex and death and birth. Like those are like the big energies of this time also. Like it's almost Halloween, it's almost Samhain, which is like the new year in the Celtic lineages. And I love knowing that about apples because I think back to my really crappy origin story in Christianity that I grew up with like there was one man and one woman and they went to a garden and they ate an apple and then everything was ruined and everything is terrible now and it's definitely the woman's fault. And that's the story that we have. And I love being like, oh, okay. So apples are a symbol for sex, you say, and a symbol for like this knowledge and this facility with the knowledge of sex and death and rebirth. Got it. And in particular, I was looking up some more lore, and there's a story, a saga in the Germanic tradition called the Volsung saga, and the story briefly goes, there was a king and a queen who's never named. The king's got a name, whatever, who want a child, can't have one, bummer, so they pray. Freya, Frigg, or Holda, depending on who you ask, hears them, and gets Odin to drop off, by way of a Valkyrie, an apple in the lap of this king who's sitting on a burial mound, which I understand it, in the Germanic tradition, these burial mounds are called hows, Howes. And so he takes this apple, he goes back and talks with his wife, and they share the apple, and she becomes pregnant. And the pregnancy is very long, and in fact the king doesn't live to see the child born. She's pregnant for 6 years, which is about the length of time that this kind of creature would need to bear fruit, more or less. That's a lot of variation in there. But she is pregnant for so long that she's like, I can't take this anymore, I feel like I'm going to die, like someone needs to cut this child out of me. And so they do, and the child is born, kisses his mother before she dies, and then the child's name is Volsung, and goes on and creates this dynasty, or this long lineage of leaders or rulers or whatever in the land, and then goes on in his castle or like hall, grows an apple tree in the center of his hall, and that tree is called Barnstalker, which like is like loosely translated to child tree. And then there's more lore about like Odin coming back and sticking a sword in this tree and like whatever. But what I like about that is like the predecessor to birth is death, and the predecessor to death is birth. You know, like these things are really interconnected, and they draw upon the energy of the other in order to turn the circle to come out the other side. And as I say that, the light comes out. It's been super like kind of overcast, but now it's sunnier. yeah, so there's lots of stories about that, and I'm excited to interview a friend of a friend, Margie, who is a birth worker today, about apples. Actually gotta go run to talk to them and interview them. Just wanted to share some of that lore with y'all. Also, so much divination around apples. Like, if you share an apple with somebody, like and you want them to be your beloved, then they're gonna be your beloved, something like that. And yeah, I encourage you to look some of that up, because that, you know, got a little fuzzy for me. Bobbing for apples a thing around this time, so there's just like so much here that it's hard to get it on. What else? Oh yeah, goddesses associated with apples, Idun, sensuality. Oh yeah, and then like the thing that I really like that I'll leave you with is apples being about trusting the cycles of abundance throughout the year. Because like now, right, in places where it gets cold, it's cold, and it will become much more cold, which I'm not prepared for. And the apples will keep in like a larder or like a cellar, carrying us through this dark time of the year, and they are ripe now. They're ripe at the time of the season where everything is kind of turning towards the energy of death. And so there's this like trust in the cycles of abundance to get us through those times that we need to fuel the other times. And like you can make apple liquor, and like that'll carry you through the dark times too. That was like a big deal in the Germanic and Celtic lineages. And Prohibition, when that happened, was like so not into that, so they really took a lot of pains to like divorce the apple from its connotations with alcohol, whatever. Puritans. And then in the spring, the apples are one of the first to flower in their little 5-petaled, beautiful little flowers. So it just turns a cycle. It's right there. It's right there at the turn of the wheel, encompassing all the world and using the energy of love and sensuality and magic to turn it. So I leave you with that. I am so excited to be back in the flow of making videos and making content for y'all. The current class of ancestral healing for white folks and the reading group for My Grandmother's Hands are going great, and yeah, thank you as always to all the patrons that make this work possible, and I'll see you soon. Bye.